This is just a simple beading to where the stars are our soapstone beads, that we've got them sitting to where they're going to be riding high, and our metal beads are keeping everything in place, and our whipping is keeping our beads in place, and our lovely Turk's head knot for our slip closure is working just perfectly. Alright, so this time with our leather lacing, I've gone ahead and tied our little loops at the end of one end of our laces. We're using three 15-inch long leather laces, and again we've got the two pieces of wax linen that are 12 inches long, a one piece that is 2 feet long. And the beads we are using today, these are a metal bead, so it's roughly 8 centimeters wide. It's got a very large hole in it so it can take the leather lacing. And this is a carved soapstone bead, and it is roughly 13 centimeters wide, and that hole is, again, it's big enough to take our leather lacing through, which is always a good thing to do. So anyway, so this is going to be pretty basic looking, but it's going to be fun to do. So at 5 inches from our end, we're going to do some basically seizing, also known as whipping. So this is going to hold our cords. We're going to do beading in between, and then we're going to repeat the same seizing at the other end to hold our beads in place, and then we're going to do a Turk's head knot again for our closure. Alright, so now that we've got that done, we're going to start stringing our beads, and it's really simple pattern. Since this hole is so big on these little beads, we can get all 3 strands through the metal bead. And that basically is the pattern. So we're getting all 3 strands through the metal bead, 1 strand through the soapstone bead, and then all 3 strands through the next metal bead. So it's just going to be the metal bead, the soapstone, the metal soapstone. And what we're doing when we do the soapstone bead, we do need to try to make sure it's the same strand that went through the first soapstone bead, which is that one right there. Making sure that we keep track of it separate from the other, so we're always putting our soapstone on the same strand of leather. Because what our goal is, that the strand that the soapstone is on, we want it to be up proud of the other strands, and to push our metal beads to where they're pulling the other 2 strands below, tighter behind our soapstone bead, so it just pops out. And so we're going to continue to string through the soapstone bead, and then all strands through the next metal bead. And again, we're going to make sure that the strand that our soapstone bead is on is going to be up higher, and we need to make sure it's this one. So again, we're pulling all of our beads nice and tight to where our soapstones are popping up, because that's actually going to be the main point of the bracelet, is to get those where they pop up, so when it's laying on your wrist, that the stones are up proud. So now what we're going to do, we're going to repeat the whipping on this side, just to make sure that our beads stay in place, that they don't move around. Alright, there we go. And for the other end, what I'll do is, once I get the Turk's head knot onto it, and I tie the knots at the end of these cords, these will get trimmed off a little bit for the excess, just to make sure that we've got balance in our cord. But I'm leaving them not trimmed yet because it's going to make it easier to slide our Turk's head knot back onto here. And again, I'm going to use our little bottle to start our Turk's head knot. Alright, so I've gone around this twice already for taking out the slack, and so you can see how much smaller it is fitting now onto our piece. And what I'm going to do, and our cords, our end cords are starting to balance out in length. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around it at least 2 more times, pulling out the slack to get it tighter, because I do want it to be fitting snug so it performs its function properly. So I'll be back when I'm done. Alright, so I've gone around 4 times for taking out the slack, and I think I now have it where I want it in terms of tightness. So you can see how much smaller we've gotten our Turk's head knot to be from where we started at. And so this time I'm trying something a little bit different on the closure. So I've just tied a single overhead hand knot here, and then I'll be taking my cord and going through doing a 4th round with it. So I'm going to do a 4th round coming on the outer edge. I'm going to start from this direction, and this round is just for embedding the tail of our cord into the knot, and it's actually adding a 4th pass on all of our turns. Now we're going to do some measuring. Mostly we're going to be eyeballing to make sure that we've got our Turk's head knot pretty much in the same location from both ends of our strand to help us locate where we want to do our knots at the end of these 3 strands remaining. So it's about there. So it's just going to be an overhand knot, and then we're going to trim off our excess leather cord. Alright, and there we go. And it's totally adjustable. They can slide through our Turk's head knot like it's supposed to. Our Turk's head knot looks like it's nice and tight the way it's supposed to be. I like the way the Turk's head knot looks on these bracelets. It's just prettier and cleaner than doing the chain of square knots and then embedding your stray cords in there that way. This just comes out, it's just very pretty. It adds to the aesthetics of your bracelet. And again, hope you enjoyed this one, and I'll be back in a bit for the next one.